Hello, I'm Jonathan Block. In this video, I'll be doing some sound-on-sound looping Frippertronics-style with the bass and the modern digital Mellotron. The signal chain is a Gibson SG standard American-made bass with flatwound strings from Labella and the Mellotron M4000D Mini. Both instruments go into a JHS AB switch, so I can go back and forth between the two. The output from the JHS pedal goes into a Boss volume pedal on the floor. The output from the volume pedal goes into a Boss GT1000 Core multi-effects. The stereo output from the GT1000 Core goes into a Boss RE-202 space echo that I'll be using for sound-on-sound looping, not delay. To use the RE-202 Space Echo as a sound-on-sound looper, you need to get it into long delay mode. That gives you the ability to tap up to 6 seconds of delay. Frippertronics was typically between 5 and 6 seconds, depending on the distance between the two Revox reel-to-reel tape decks. This is not that. You can get the 6 seconds. It's sound-on-sound looping. It just has its own quality to it and sound that you'll hear. I have a link down below to a video where I go in depth about how to get the RE-202 Space Echo into long delay mode, and then tips and tricks for using it as a sound-on-sound looper. The video I'm linking to below will be for the bass, but there's also one out there for the Mellotron as well. And I'll link to a review I do on the JHS AB pedal. It's really a great little pedal. So I think what I'll do is I want to get some sound samples going. We're recording it to GarageBand, but not really using any effects there at all. This is a hardware jam. All the effects are from the GT1000 Core. So first I'll demonstrate some of the sounds I'm going to use with the bass and with the Mellotron. The way I usually do these is I'll start with one of the instruments, let's say the Mellotron. I'll build up a soundscape loop. Then I'll grab the bass and do some soloing over that. And then as the Mellotron loop starts fading, I'll create a loop on the bass. And then once that's going, I'll turn the Mellotron back in, and then we'll do some soloing on the Mellotron, and then goes on and on and on. You can go on for a very long time. So why don't I start with the bass first? Let's hear some bass sounds. So typically for the bass, I don't have any effects going other than a little bit of compression. And this way I can just add things in and out. So here we go, Gibson SG standard bass. So you got that. Let me just run through a few of the sounds I'll use. This is kind of a shimmery, cloudy pad kind of thing. And I'll be fading these sounds in, so I'll do a short demonstration of a loop too, so that you'll hear that. Let me just a few different ones. Terra bass. So a lot of these started as patches on the GT1000 Core. There's specific bass effects in here and bass patches as well, but it's easy to take a guitar one and make it work for bass. So beyond the ones that I created, I also just kind of tweak some of the ones that they already had. So here's the sound I created. This is a lead sound. Reminds me of John Wetton, so I call it Wetton bass. So you get the idea with that. That's really just a solo sound, more kind of crystally, shimmery stuff. So when you start combining a few of those and like something like this, they really kind of build up very quickly. Yeah, we'll do maybe a step phaser sound too. So as you can hear, there's a nice kind of variety of sounds, from these kind of weirdo soundscapey things to just your kind of straight ahead sounds. Why don't we go into the Mellotron right now? Now the Mellotron's different. I really just have one patch here. There's always a little bit of reverb on. There's always a little bit of compression. Let me just put the bass down for a second. And then I can just bring effects in as I need them. Let me switch over to the Mellotron. So I have a rotary, a phaser, and a delay. But first, let's just hear some of the quote-unquote clean sounds. Now I'll be using sounds from the Chamberlin. So I don't want to get into the whole history of the Mellotron, but the Chamberlin was the precursor to the Mellotron. There's some shenanigans that went on to get to the Mellotron. But a lot of the original tapes are from the Chamberlin and kind of made their way through the years to all the different models. So here is the Chamberlin flute. Actually, that's the violins. Let me switch this. So a little bit like the Mark II flute, but a bit different. You get bass clarinet. The violins. Alto sax. The trombone. Maybe for a lead sound, I'll use their piano. I love the pianos. They're so kind of out there. The Chamberlin one is one of the better ones, and this is a Chamberlin Music Master. There's also M1 sounds in here as well. Vibraphone. You get the idea. What I want to show off for you Mellotron fans out there, you know, there's 2 brass and 2 saxes. Those are really famous. Well, the Chamberlin has 4 saxes and 4 brass. So here's 4 saxes, just 1 note. So you get 4 saxophones, get a quartet in 1 note. Let me find the brass. Here's the 4 brass. Very cool. I do want to, there's a mandolin and a marimba, and for these you got a low-high switch here on the Mellotron, which halves the sample rate. So here's the Mellotron on the low F, and this jam will be in the key of F, and then I'll go to the split the sample in half so you can hear that. Then we go low. I will actually use that just to note. And marimba, same thing. Let's go high, low. So they'll just add some texture to the jam. And that's pretty much it. I mean, some other weird sounds we'll use. Accordion. And then the male voice. All right. Let me just run through some of the effects that I'll use here. I'll use the violins. Are probably the best thing to demonstrate it on. So clean. So again, clean means a little bit of reverb and a little bit of compression. All right, let's a rotary. Clean. Rotary. Phaser. Whoops, and the rotary. So clean, phaser. And then a delay. So I use phaser and the delay a lot. So those are all the sounds. I'm going to do a really, really quick loop here because I just want to demonstrate kind of the way you can start with these individual sounds, and oftentimes they kind of sound off by themselves, and then slowly everything starts to meld and smear. The high end and the low end start kind of compressing, and you get this more mid-rangey wooden sound. So let me try that. So the first thing I'm going to do, we've got the Mellotron set up. I'm going to lay down a really quick loop with the Mellotron, and then I'll do a teeny bit of bass soloing over that, and then I'll just do a few bass patches so you can get the idea. But again, I don't want to take too long here, so we're on the Mellotron. Let me just throw some effects on and put the RE-2 Space Echo on to loop, and that's important. You can turn it on and off, so that enables me to, now that it's on, I can add things into the loop. When I turn it off, whatever I play just goes through and does not end up imprinted on the loop. So usually 2, maybe 3 notes per instrument, because right now it's just the 2, but they start. I'm just going to do 2 notes with a few instruments here. Add some effects, the rotary. So this is open trumpet. So that's 4 different sounds. Just get a really low note in here. I'll put all the effects on. This is the 3 violins. Just to get kind of like a low pedal. And then fade it out right before the loop, so it's kind of it's more undulating in the background there. Now at this point, I would turn the space echo off. The volume's completely down. I got the volume pedal off, so I'll switch over now to the bass. One of the great things about the JHS pedal is as long as you plug it in, you got a light. So I use the red for the bass, it's a red bass, and blue for the Mellotron. So now we're on the bass. So what I would do over this is do a solo. Let me get that wetting sound I demonstrated before. Let's just crank the volume all the way. So again, this will not end up on the loop. Now turn the intensity knob a little. That's the repeats, and that's how you can control how fast things fade out from the loop. Now, there's no way to get this. This is not a standard looper, and you can't use this as a standard looper. If you want to play a phrase or something and you never want it to decay from a volume perspective or a sound quality perspective, this is not the unit. You just want kind of a traditional looper because you can already hear. Everything is smearing together. It's kind of, now I turned it down so I can start adding some bass stuff over. So let me go to that pad, one of these pads. Just gonna get a few things down here quickly. And it's not on, so it's not gonna, so let's get it in there. Kind of faded out too quick. But when you get things like that, you can fix it in the sense of fading something in before. So let me get this going now. So this volume will kind of cover that kind of fall off that I had from the one overdub. And now it's slowly kind of smearing. If you listen, you can still hear that Mellotron loop in the background. Let me turn this one up a little bit. Let me just get a couple of other sounds going here. All right, that's 3 or 4 patches. In the jam, it'll be more and a bit more dense. And then again, turn off the space echo so we're not imprinting on the loop. Move over to the Mellotron. Just got to go down to my Mellotron patch here. Piano I said I was going to use, so I'll just come right in it. And then the same thing, rinse and repeat. So you can hear that bass one. Now, a lot of times what I'll do is the volume is slightly different, so I'll raise the volume. Actually, on the GT1000 Core, I found that's the easiest. So I've got it probably 11 o'clock for the Mellotron and 1 for the bass. I didn't have it all the way turned up. That's why this loop was a little quieter. But during the jam, everything is kind of an equal volume. All right, this is going on a long time, and I can guarantee you the jam will be at least 10 minutes, so I appreciate your patience. Let's get into the jam. I'll keep that loop going. So as you can hear, you kind of quickly lose note definition, even if you put in notes that you might not be happy with, or right after you put them in, the first couple of passes doesn't sound right. It always seems to work itself out. You lose that note definition after a while, and they start sounding like sustained synth notes. And then, of course, I can go in and out of the loop to do some soloing without imprinting that onto the loop itself, and then using the JHS pedal, I can switch back and forth, have a Mellotron loop going, and then the bass soloing and vice versa. It's a lot of fun, and you can kind of just keep going back and forth. It can really go on forever. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and good luck with your own music.